And it's like written really poorly. It's about this boy who grows up, he like matures backwards, but he has like a beard as a kid. And like it's told from his best friend's point of view. There are like moments where they refer to this Owen Meany guy as a messiah. He rescues a fucking bus of children like as a kid. It gets political in like a very weird, nonsensical way. Don't ever read this book. What's up, friendos? Today I'm doing my 1,000 subscriber special. It's a questions and answers segment because, well, simply put, I was supposed to do this months ago, but it took a long time for me to make it to 1,000 subscribers. And for some reason, anytime I make some kind of landmark, some people tend to unsubscribe. I don't know if it's a joke or if it's a prank, but whatever. I'm just happy I made it to 1,000 subscribers at least once. So at the halfway point of this year, I asked you all to submit some questions for this video. So I'm going to be answering them. There are 21 comments that I received, so I'm just going to answer all of the comments. In the meantime, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the butt button. What is your favorite anime manga? That's a pretty easy answer for me. It's One Piece. I adore One Piece and I absolutely plan to make a video about One Piece someday. Hi, favorite Pokemon generation and why? Honestly, Gen 9 is becoming mine. So many audacious designs. Do you read poetry? And if so, what are your faves? If not, I recommend Kai-Jing Tom, Frank O'Hara, Allen Ginsberg. What are some genres of music you've been into lately? My favorite Pokemon generation is Generation 2. I mean, I started with Generation 1, but Generation 2, I believe it's the best one just because it's more culturally in tone with like the ancient aspects of Japan. Although Kanto is more closely related to the urban areas of Tokyo, Johto is more in line with some of the more traditional and ancient architecture of Japan, and I really find that part fascinating. Not to mention some of my favorite Pokemon are from Johto. My favorite poetry, I don't really remember because it was in this like book that I read a really long time ago when I was still getting into punk music. It was this book written by Henry Rollins. I think it's called Black Coffee Blues. He said that he was free. He told us that he was the freest man there ever was. We shook our heads and made humorous asides as we waited for the official papers to be handed to the secretary so we could read his death sentence right to his face. Let him tell us about his freedom then. When we heard the verdict, he didn't even flinch. In fact, and you can check me on this, his eyes opened wide and a great smile broke across his face. Such is total freedom, he said, and closed his eyes. Wow, that sounds a little bit like the intro to One Piece, my friends. But again, I have not read it in a very long time. I don't really read poetry much anymore. That was more of something I did when I was younger. While most people know me for being into punk music, I really like jazz a lot.
You like jazz?
I named myself Sabo after the jazz guitarist Gabor Sabo. I highly recommend listening to his album Dreams. It is a masterpiece. I'm also a fan of like John Coltrane. He's another really good jazz artist. I do have a story to tell that has to do with jazz, ironically enough. So at one point I attended a community college and I took a single semester for jazz guitar. It kind of kicked my ass, actually. Here's a picture of me like on day one of taking that class. I look like a fucking dweeb. But later on in life, after I've long taken that semester class, I met a trans woman who actually goes to a music school and learns jazz for professional reasons. And in an attempt to relate to her, I said, hey, I studied a little bit of jazz guitar in community college. But she misunderstood and thought I said I went to like Juilliard or some shit, which is not true. I didn't go to Juilliard. I didn't go to some high fucking end school. I just took a semester in jazz guitar. Granted, you know, I learned a lot from it, but I didn't like become a fucking prodigy in a single semester, no. But it was like after that, it was when she started making accusations against me, like, why are you only playing bar chords in your songs when you went to jazz school? I didn't go to jazz school. I don't know, whatever. What are your thoughts on stateless anarchism and the protection of bodily autonomy under such a system? What is your favorite lesser known book, movie, play, etc.? Why YouTube? And how do you see your efforts on this platform aiding in the fight for queer liberation? As a queer, trans new fan, I'm curious to know more. I think the first thing that some people need to understand is that there is a clear distinction between, like, say, anarcho-communism and anarcho-syndicalism. Anarcho-syndicalism is the method in which we get to anarcho-communism. Anarcho-communism is the abolition of unjust hierarchies and the complete abolition of class in and of itself. So I say that the system that we would be creating would have to address these systemic problems at an intersectional level. We may not even be able to see that system within our own lifetimes. The point in fighting for that future is that the future generations can be the ones to build the blueprints for something like that. I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, you know, anarchists have this big idea of what a stateless society would be, but it's more like the anarchists are looking to abolish the state to create something. I think if you're gonna pick something that is lesser known, I would say the Glass Castle. I rarely hear people talking about the Glass Castle, although I just recently got it again for the second time, and I have every intention on rereading it to see if it aged well, because I read it when I was a junior in high school, and I loved it so much back then that I actually stayed up at night to finish reading it. It was one of those books that, like, for some reason, literally glued my eyes to the page. I chose YouTube a long time ago because I have more of a fascination with making films, and I've always had a fascination with making films. On my previous old channel, I made a comedy series called The Christopher Sabo Show. I obviously don't go by Christopher Sabo anymore.
I ain't a winner. Pay the front line, take the don'ts.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, what's that funny smell? I hate to suggest this, but my guess would be marijuana. An unlawful substance used to experience artificial highs.
Wait, what?
Ace, deuce, scrap, once four. 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 Ace, deuce, ace, deuce, scrap, one four. Scrap, one four.
The facts are all the same. The facts are all the same. But we start with different beliefs about the past. Evolution teaches that we're the result of millions and millions of years.
Make sure there's no witnesses. When you leave, always bring them back.
Oh, really? Sorry, I was just gonna invite my mother to come with me while I walk in the middle of a fucking graveyard at night so that she could also film me fucking with corpses of people I've never met before. Just like you!
Who wants the hard four? 5 wants 4.
Check me out, Tom.
I ain't a winner. Got a hot hand.
Well, let's not waste any more time.
It's Friday the 13th of October.
No, we are not gonna fucking do this. We are not gonna pull this fucking gag. We cannot afford to have the fucking copyright laws up my fucking ass. It's not gonna fucking happen, Jason. Piss off.
Well, your show fucking sucks anyway. See you later.
Death,
Wait, slow down.
and struggle. And the dinosaurs died
Wait,
off long before
time out,
man
wait.
ever even evolved.
That was a comedy series that I was trying to do. It was right after the Trump inauguration. It was my way of being like, okay, things are bad right now, and I don't want to fucking be this angry about it anymore, so I'm gonna focus my energy on something else. But eventually things did just become unavoidable, so I had to end the series on a note. But I think the big thing that we should remember when it comes to queer liberation and spreading any kind of message is something that I holistically hold really close to my heart. It's a quote from the Dead Kennedy singer Jello Biafra, and that is, "Don't hate the media, become the media." When Jello Biafra made that statement, it was during a time when the monopolies of the corporate media were slimming down further and further until today, where it's just about like 5 or so corporations. You can read the Ben Bajikian book, The New Media Monopoly, to get a better understanding of this topic in the first place. But Jello has talked time and time again the importance of utilizing media in a way that is advantageous to any kind of progressive or radical causes, and that's why I chose YouTube, for that reason. It's a do-it-yourself kind of way of doing things, punk way of doing things. Thanks for the question, by the way. Across your whole varied discography, what exactly do you consider to be your magnum opus, so to speak? I don't know, that's a good question, because I don't know if I have one. I mean, there's some that I listen to more often than others. I think my favorite one has to probably be the Ska Bell album, Decaying and Desolation.
One bad cop, same old excuse, one doesn't time. I don't think that it's okay. You don't think that I'm so dumb. Yeah, you think that I'll submit here to the idea that cops aren't cruel. Professionals anything but cool. Foreigners and white Zimmerman, all justified and glorified. Apologists are blind and scared of all the stories that's been theirs. One set of reports of a black man. Cops are heroes again.
I think that one's just my favorite because it was at a time when I was doing really poorly, like emotionally speaking.
Kill me, please free me, you can try me, and if there's a God there, I'll choke him, I'll cut him, I'll break him, like Harry Harlow.
And I was very depressed, and so I just needed to put something together to express the darkness that I was feeling, and that album came out to be really well. Even though I recorded it in my grandma's basement, even though like I used a fucking computer microphone through the whole album.
To all of my best friends, even though I'm not there, I will try my fucking best. I will try my best. I will try my best.
Even though sometimes you can like hear cars just driving by, it's still crazy. But it was just one of those albums where it was just like, it was all darkness, but then like right at the end there's the song Raise Your Flag, and it's a song about hope. It's a hopeful note that it ends on, and I try to do that for like all of my albums.
Be proud of who you are. You have grown so much and you have made it this far. Have some pride in what you've done. Don't shut down for anyone. I know that it's really hard to see the light in yourself, but one day you will thank yourself for sticking to your rules and no one else.
I try to end all of my albums with like a hopeful message. Do you play Pokemon trading card game? And if so, what do you think of the new decks that have come out or the ones on the app? Sorry it's a bit niche, but you made a video where I felt encouraged to get back into Pokemon. First of all, I'm glad that you got back into Pokemon because of my video. I mean, I'm really honored that you got back into Pokemon. That being said, I do not play the trading card game at all. I've attempted to collect them a couple of times, but like, not really. I don't really do it that much at all.
Just wanted to briefly mention that I do have a Yu-Gi-Oh deck and I do enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So if you want to look at my deck that I've been constructing since 2013, feel free to pause the video.
My name is Marek. I don't care. My name is Marek. I don't care. My name is Marek. I don't care.
Sorry, I've always wanted to do that. I do think the artwork on the Pokemon cards are really cool though, like especially very imaginative. And they diverse in different like art styles and stuff. I will say, to kind of give somewhat of a more satisfactory answer, I did start playing Pokemon Crystal Legacy, which is a new ROM hack that was made by Smith Plays Pokemon. Absolutely go try that out. It's a really, really good addition.
I'm just walking right into it. Let's see if we can do this. I'm curious. I feel like I'm very prepared, but we'll see. Oh, okay. Shit, what the fuck? Oh no. Oh, it's nothing. This has been an interesting battle so far. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can do it. I'm gonna go on fighting. See how far I can go. We're doing great, y'all. Yo, whoa. I'm gonna put you in the Pokeball for now. Swift is probably the better idea for now to ensure that we. Oh man, we were so close. Darn. If we could start a rollout, that would be really interesting. Let's get this rollout going. Well, oh, she's in the rollout too. Oh shit. Oh no, wait, no. Darn it. Darn it. This is not good. Shit. Okay. Ice Punch. I hope we can survive this. I'm hoping that the rollout ends soon. Don't knock me out, please. Man. I need your side beam to fucking go. Like, I'm sorry. Come on. Oh no. Oh man, that was so awful. I'm such a bad trainer.
Although, right when you get to Morty and beyond Morty, it starts to get obscenely fucking hard. I know that was a design choice, but my cousin and I are massive bookworms, and she gave me a list of questions I would love to hear your answer to. Challenge accepted. What are a couple of favorite fiction books you've read recently? I can only give one because I don't really read fiction, but A Country of Ghosts by Margaret Killjoy is one that I've read that's pretty solid. I would say it's even better than Harry Potter. I mean, I know it's not Harriet Porter or anything like that, but like, instead of reading Harry Potter, you should be reading Margaret Killjoy's A Country of Ghosts. What book did you read as a kid that still holds up? I don't know. What is your favorite non-fiction book you've read? I might have it around here somewhere. I don't know. Is it this one? Is it here? Oh, hey, look what I just fucking found. It's The Glass Castle. What is a book you'll never read again? A Prayer for Owen Meany. Let me explain why. It's like this thick. It's long, and it's like written really poorly. It's about this boy who grows up, he like matures backwards, but he has like a beard as a kid, and like it's told from his best friend's point of view. There are like moments where they refer to this Owen Meany guy as a messiah. He rescues a fucking bus of children like as a kid. It gets political in like a very weird, nonsensical way. Don't ever read this book, because the one reason that should like convince you to never read the book, I promise you, all you gotta do is just open one of the pages. All of Owen Meany's dialogues, it's all caps. All of Owen Meany's dialogue is just all fucking him just like screaming.
In the spring of, Owen was especially destructive to the helpless swamp life of Gravesend and to Mary Magdalene. Just before Easter, we'd been to the Idaho, where we suffered through Seal B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments, the life of Moses, represented by Charlton Heston undergoing various costume changes and radical hairstyles. It's another male nipple movie, Owen said. And indeed, in addition to Charlton Heston's nipples, there is evidence of Yul Brynner and John Derek, and even Edward G. Robinson having nipples too. Maybe I should reread this. This book's a fucking riot.
When I was in high school and we were reading this book as a class, like, we were so critical of John Irving, and we said some things about him that I do not want to repeat. They were mean, but at the same time, like, he's kind of a shit writer. What book changed your mind about something or inspired you to try something new? There's a book by Lewis Black called Me of Little Faith. It actually kind of ironically convinced me to study other religions at the time. I went to the local library afterwards and I studied all of the books. There was a point when like I had like tabs on the side of the Quran, like as if I was like taking notes and stuff. It was pretty interesting. No, I am not Muslim, for the record. Me of Little Faith by Lewis Black, who is a fantastic comedian, by the way.
I was amazed to realize that we are the only country that tells the rest of the world on a nearly constant basis that we are the greatest country on earth. And that is a little fucking obnoxious.
It's supposed to be about him being an atheist Jew. It's really, really, really good for like getting some kind of perspective that I didn't have before, and it made me want to seek out like a perspective of my own on all of these other worldly religions instead of it being taught down to me. What is one of your favorite books to recommend to others? Are you currently involved in any direct action? Do you have any Pride Month traditions? Any games you're excited for if you play new stuff? I can't say the name of the org, otherwise it would dox me, but I do feed the homeless and do their laundry and all kinds of other stuff with the homeless. I also get involved with an anti-war vigil every week. Do I have any Pride Month traditions? I don't know, but other than just educating people on the history of Pride and taking part in Pride events and all that stuff, not really. I don't really have any Pride traditions. Weirdly enough, this year I didn't go to Pride in my area, although it did take place in my area. I went on a date instead, so that was a nice use of my time throughout Pride Month. And it was a really good date. We ate burritos, we watched a trauma movie. I don't remember which movie we watched, but it was pretty fun. We got wicked high. Originally, I was excited for Sonic Superstars, but I just recently learned that Sega started threatening to union bust in its corporation again.
Patrick, we shouldn't
Be
disturb her
cringe.
anymore.
That's not being cringe.
This is
Being
disturbing.
cringe.
Hi there.
Your workers made awesome games and made you money and you're gonna fucking try to union bust? Bullshit. Yo, always been curious your thoughts on app-based communism. What would your rendition of that be like? Thanks. I love your music and your political work. Thanks for standing true to your beliefs. I admire you. Much love. Now, I'm gonna be very honest with you, and I mean this with no malice at all, but I tried to ask some people what app-based communism was. I don't know what that word means. I thought it was application communism, to apply communism into the real world, praxis, putting your theory into praxis. My friend thought you were talking about phone applications, and I don't think that's what you mean. The only other guess I could have if you were talking about fully automated luxury space communism or whatever, but I don't think that's what you meant. I mean, you're welcome to try to clarify it in the comments. I did try to figure it out for a while, and I don't know what you mean. I also tried Googling it. Hello, Skylar. I have two questions. Do you have a preference between sweet and spicy food? Honest opinion on Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood, or if you never played it, RPGs in general. So I have a strong preference for spicy food. I don't like sweet food because my stomach doesn't really do well with like sugar. Like I'm not really down to like eat pastries and candy and all that. Put the hot sauce on that shit, you know what I mean?
And all the girlies say I'm pretty fly.
So I'm gonna let you know, last night I played Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood. I don't have footage of it sadly because I was hanging out with a friend while I was doing it. I did not like the fact that you have to use touch controls to move Sonic around. And I'm sure you played it, but like, I got to the part where the old man asked you to like chop logs and stuff. That's all I did. As for like the story, I'm gonna put a pin on that for way later, okay? Like in a future video. This thumbnail. I love RPGs. I mean, I like Pokemon, but I like Sega RPGs like Skies of Arcadia. This is amazing. This is a great video game. And I talked about Skies of Arcadia in my Dreamcast ranking video, so if you want to watch more videos where I talk about RPGs and stuff, you can check that video out as well, because I do rank a number of RPGs in that video. What was the first fandom that you really and truly fell in love with? There's a video out there, you know, in my mom's basement of me watching Thomas the Tank Engine, and it's the episode where Mavis like gets stuck at the bottom of like that ditch, and then on the very top,
An angry farmer was telling Mavis just what she could do with her train.
and I must have been like either 1 or maybe younger than that. I don't know, man, but like I remember that episode very, very vividly. First off, you're iconic, and I'm here for your art. What are some good ways to fight back outside of protest? Circumstance makes it very difficult to get downtown and help often. So what are some other ways I can contribute to the good fight? That is a very fantastic question. The first thing I would say is do what you can to find information on fascists. A lot of times when fascists tend to demonstrate like on the weekends, that's because they have jobs in the middle of the week. They have careers that sustain their movement. And so when you find out where, you know, for example, Joey Biggs or whatever works at, you can call his business and be like, hey, listen, yo, you got a white supremacist at your store, man. He works for you. You gonna fucking employ a white supremacist at your store? Getting information like that is really helpful because if you can get that information out there onto the internet, people are gonna zap call that business and get that motherfucker fired and cut off his fucking income. So he can't just be a fucking Wendy's worker in the middle of the week and then be a fucking neo-Nazi on the weekend. So that's one way you can do it, even remotely in the comfort of your own home. Of course, other ways you can do that is by helping locally. I mean, you don't have to go downtown to do activism, which I understand why you would want to go downtown. That's where most of the culture is at. But at the same time, there are people in your area who are struggling, and those people need their material conditions met as well. Like I said earlier, I volunteer to help the homeless. I do their laundry and I also feed them on the weekend. There's stuff you can do with that even. I would also say if you can't find an org on the weekend, to make an org of yourself. Make a mission statement, start meeting up with your friends on the weekend or the weekdays or whenever you're off, and try to do it consistently. You know, since we're talking about books and, you know, solidarity and activism and stuff, this was a book that my friend let me borrow. It's a really good Dean Spade book. Definitely check this one out, for sure. If you want to like learn some more like workshops and stuff, that's another thing you should do, is do workshops and participate in workshops. Workshops are good because they not only are good for skill swapping, workshops are good because they're not only good for like skill swapping, but they also help get the community together to learn together. Instead of having a teacher talk down to you all the time, you're all learning at once. I hope that even if it wasn't the most sufficient answer, that it was something that could help you learn something along the way. Oh, and what are your thoughts on communism, where robots do all the work so humans have more time to themselves? That's literally like the type of shit that like Marx and Kropotkin has written about in the past. I mean, I think that's kind of just the goal here, because at the end of the day, when robots are doing the labor, we have all the time in the world to relax and just pay attention to the small few times that we need to do maintenance on those robots. Although there's this one movie that I want to do a video about someday called Metropolis. It's not the old one, but it's the anime that came out in like the early 2000s. And it talks about robots in a humanistic sense because it sort of humanizes the robots in such a way that they are now being discriminated by this new ziggurat government. So I'm a little conflicted. That is one of those things I don't really have an answer for, unfortunately. But I appreciate the question, and I appreciate that we're thinking about these things even before that time comes, or it's actually slowly approaching with the rise of AI and robot dogs. What led to you becoming an anarchist? The first step was becoming an atheist, or rather, leaving Christianity. My reasons for becoming an anarchist were strictly because of the fact that the church exists as a hierarchy, and I took church very seriously. So eventually, it came to a point to where I had to start questioning the legitimacy of these roles in the first place. For example, when I started to go to Sunday school, I asked my grandfather, how will I know I will go to heaven? And it's largely because like the concept of sin is so vague, especially depending on which denomination of the church you go to, that he starts to then, question it himself. But he tells this story, and I thought it was so silly, but I'm gonna share it with you anyway. Apparently he read in this paper, a religious paper, that a girl lost her dog, like her dog died, basically. And she was really sad. And she heard from other religious people that dogs don't go to heaven. But then she went to the priest and she was like, well, if my dog's not in heaven, how the fuck am I gonna be happy? Like, if heaven's supposed to be this all happy fucking place, how am I gonna be happy? And so then the priest just, on a whim, just thinks, well, if God wants you to be happy in heaven, then clearly your dog has to be in heaven. Just like on a whim, like this fucking priest, this like low-ranking priest can just fucking say, hey, God interprets it this way or whatever. And so it's like these kinds of questioning of authorities just kind of over time, not even like in a single event, but just kind of drew me to anarchism. Oh my god, that's a lot. Okay. Do you do any music production? If so, what is your setup, DAWs, synth, etc.? In my opinion, the greatest failure to liberal democracy is its leniency or equivocation, pogromist ideas, e.g. transphobes, racists, anti-Ziganists. Is it viable for the left to pursue a stateless society before those reactionaries have been liquidated? I hate to break it to you, but I use GarageBand. Yeah, everyone's gonna make fun of me in the comment section. But to answer your second question here, I think the battle against the state and battles against fascism are gonna have to be battles that we fight at the same time. We are going to only see the maintenance of the state from those groups. And we are only going to see the maintenance of those groups from the state. I just don't see the reason to focus on one of those things or the other. Both of those things have to be eliminated entirely. Top 5 music bands, artists, no order is needed. One for sure is the Distillers, like 100%. I love the Distillers. The Dead Kennedys is another one. Propagandhi is another one. Agape is another one. Nausea. That's 5. I still want to do a video about Yappo, Young and Pissed Off someday. I'm gonna make that video happen one of these days. Just you fucking wait. Just 3 questions. Favorite Pokemon from Gen 1 and why? Favorite Pokemon from Gen 2 and why? Favorite Pokemon from Gen 3 and why? That's 6 questions. You did your math wrong. My favorite Pokemon from Gen 1 is Hypno, and that's because it was the first Pokemon that I actually evolved when I was playing Pokemon Yellow as a kid, and I made it all the way to Fuchsia City. But what happened was that I couldn't get to the HM Surf House, so I couldn't progress into the game, and so I sold all of my items and lost all of my money, and that means I lost all of my chances of being able to get it. So I pretty much soft-locked myself. It's a video that Pika Spray has done in the past, and I learned that in Pokemon Yellow you can just bypass that anyway.
It seems that Game Freak was actually aware that the player could get stuck like this. So in Yellow, if you don't have any money when you try and enter the Safari Zone, but continue to try and enter, the man at the entrance will take pity on you and allow you to enter anyway. However, if you get in this way, you will only be given a single Safari Ball. It seems obvious to me that this was added as a workaround, so that if the player was somehow terrible enough to end up in this situation, they still always had the possibility to get surfed.
And I felt really bad because I never got to finish the game with Hypno.
And if the player was somehow terrible enough to end up in this situation,
I hope maybe one day I can finish the game with Hypno. My favorite Gen 2 Pokemon is kind of hard to pick because I have two favorites, Xatu and Misdreavus. I just think Xatu looks cool and Misdreavus is adorable and also pretty fascinating with this Move Perish song. It's my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon, I think, has to be Wailord, and that's because it is massive. I think at the time it was the biggest Pokemon ever. A lot of questions about Pokemon I'm noticing. I'm being basic, but no one else has asked, so I want to know. Favorite video games or video game series? And what was your favorite video game as a child? Bonus, what video game genres do you not enjoy? I think the answer is just going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, I play Sonic a lot. That was a thing throughout my childhood as well. I think the games I'm not really all that into are like first-person shooters or like tactical RPGs. I mean, sometimes I like tactical RPGs, but it really depends on which one it is. I'm also just not a fan of like bullet hells. Sonic Frontiers has these mini games where you have to play like bullet hells, and they're a lot easier than like the bullet hells like Ikaruga and all that, but the bullet hells in Sonic Frontiers are still a pain in the ass. I'm not a fan of those. I just think bullet hells are a little too distracting for me. Like if I'm trying to avoid one type of bullet or, you know, one obstacle, I have to like look all over the screen, and sometimes I lose where my little ship is, and that's a little too much for me. I know Big the Cat is in Sonic Frontiers. They did a fantastic job and learned from their past mistakes. But I would prefer Sonic Adventure's version of Big the Cat over Sonic Frontiers bullet hells. That's how bad I hate bullet hells. Do you play any of the Soulsborne games? Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, etc.? The answer is no, and that's because I was specifically warned by some close friends of mine who know about a very specific phobia of mine that I will not say on video, and that they are in the games. And I feel really bad because I know that these games are critically acclaimed, and I am just sorry to disappoint you all. Fender or Gibson? Neither. Any pets? Not anymore, but I had a pet named Oliver who was a black cat, and I loved her so much, and she will always be in my heart. Favorite color? I got a bunch of favorite colors. Teal, blue, purple, yellow. I did a whole video on my side channel about my favorite color if you really want to know. Do you like Pink Floyd? I'm not a huge fan of Pink Floyd, but I like the album Dark Side of the Moon. I think one of my favorite songs is Us and Them and Money. That's a good song. What about King Crimson? I think I heard King Crimson maybe once or twice, and I don't remember what that was like for me. How do you feel about putting chemicals in the water to turn the frickin' frogs gay? Joke question. Do you understand that? Favorite bands, musicians, songs? Well, I talked about a lot of that already, but I guess if I'm gonna be naming some more, I guess like The Offspring was really good. The Clash was a big band for me as a kid. Like it was a huge deal for me when I was young. And I think if I'm gonna pick a song, I think the song Rudy Can't Fail was a big one for me because my grandpa's name is Rudy, and the song's kind of about this deadbeat motherfucker who has very reactionary views. And my grandpa is a deadbeat motherfucker who has very reactionary views, so on the rooftop, the 19th floor. And hey, that's it, everybody. That's all the questions. I'm gonna go edit now. Thanks for all the questions, and thanks for 1,000 subscribers. I love you all. Don't forget to drink water.